I want to talk to you guys about Meditations again by Marcus Aurelius. Now, I do want to do a quick shout out to Ryan Holiday and Joe Rogan because on their podcast they talked about it, and it was actually, I believe, the what started my journey on going and buying this book and reading it. Um, what happens was I actually gifted this to my brother-in-law, this book. I don't know, maybe a year ago, and but I hadn't read it. I had just heard really good things about it, and I've been a fan of the Stoic philosophy and looked it up online. But it was the first time I read it, and I just finished it just not too long ago, and so I got so much out of it that I wanted to make another video on it. And I'm just gonna read different excerpts, share with you some of the story that I got from it, some of the benefits, and I strongly recommend you look into it. And it's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now, I want to open with this. A rock thrown in the air, it loses nothing by coming down and gained nothing by coming up. So, what does that mean? Well, one of the things that's really interesting here is Marcus Aurelius talks about not being affected by exterior things, right? Whether it's praise, whether it's success or fame. He talks about being extremely disciplined and not letting things affect you. And so when I read this, a rock thrown up in the air, so it loses nothing by coming down and gain nothing by going up. I think of us in life. When we are going up in life, we are, everybody's telling us we're doing great. People are praising you. You're getting awards. You're getting lots of accolades, whatever the case, right? And so it can change you if you're not careful, right? But a rock remains unchanged. It doesn't lose anything when it comes back down, right? So if you're stripped of everything in life, all of your successes, everything that you had gained, and you're stripped of that, you lose nothing because none of that really mattered. And so I really like that one. I open with that all the time when I talk to people. And that's one of the things that I notice about this book is that I would read a couple pages a day. And it took me quite a bit. Took me over 6 months to read just because I'm reading a couple pages a day, skip a day. I wasn't extremely consistent with it, which is not a stoic approach, but I'm being honest. But I will tell you that as I opened it, it's like certain things speak to you. And I don't know if you ever heard that saying where when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? When you're ready to receive a certain message, that message will hit you. And so you can reread a book and get a different take from it and learn different things because you were ready at that point in time to receive that message. So that was one that was very interesting. Now, let me pop up to another section here, and I'm kind of just popping in through, different chapters. And one of the things that I do when I read through these books, this book in particular, I write a lot of notes, areas that I think are really important. So I like this one a lot. It says you have to assemble your life yourself, action by action, and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as it can. No one can keep that from happening. But there are external obstacles, not to behaving with justice, self-control, and good sense. Well, but perhaps to some more concrete action. But if you accept the obstacle and work with what you're given, an alternative will present itself. So again, if you accept the obstacle and work with that you're given, an alternative will present itself. Another piece of what you're trying to assemble, action by action. And the next point is to accept it without arrogance, and to let it go with indifference. Okay, so one of the things that he talks a lot about is just obstacles in life and challenges in life, and whether it's sickness or death or loss of a family member. And a lot of it has to do with just things taking their natural course, as nature intends them to happen, right? And so, one of the things that I thought was really powerful is that for me, in reading like that paragraph there, that you can take things as far as it can go, and no one can keep that from happening. And so, there's somewhat of like a relief that if you do everything in your power to make something happen and it doesn't happen, it could be the universe saying that, you know what, this was not meant to be yet, or this was not meant to be. And so you have to do your part, right? And he's saying, action by action, assemble your life yourself. No one can keep that from happening, but there are external obstacles, and respecting those, respecting what the universe and the logos he talks a lot about, which is the universe. It's everything that is. And then he puts to accept it without arrogance, and to let it go with indifference. I mean, that little sentence, right? That little phrase is so powerful, right? You're accepting something without arrogance. So if somebody were to says, hey, you did a great job, or here's an award, or I think of a corporate setting, and corporations like to reward when somebody, especially in sales, does really, really well, right? So they're to accept that award without arrogance, and to let it go with indifference. If something gets taken from you, to be indifferent of it. It's very difficult to do, but not impossible. And so I thought that was a powerful little piece right there. One thing that I noticed, that the way that I would approach things in a business and sales setting, and I was in a corporation, I would have my own goals, right? And I would say that my goal, let's say, was to do X amount of sales. Let's just say, 100. And the company would award me for having done 80 sales, just to give an example. And I remember I would get an award, I would get recognition and different things. And I remember thinking to myself, why am I celebrating if I didn't hit my goal of 100? I'll celebrate when I hit my goal. I remember there was an award that I won with the company, and it was even a trip and everything. And it was a recognition. I was like, I didn't achieve mine. I'm not going to go on this. Now, it just so happens the pandemic hit at the same time, and so I got a cash payout instead of a trip. But I was planning on not going on that trip. And I remember some people saying, hey, you deserve it. You should go on that trip. You earned it. The company is paying for it, blah, blah, blah. But I remember thinking to myself, there was a conflict, because my goals were higher, and I was being awarded for something when I hadn't done the best. And I think that's one of the things that we have to be conscious of, is what are your goals? And being disciplined. The other day I was getting together with my brother's brother-in-law. I saw him the other day, and I liked it, a lot of respect for him. And he was asking me about one of the choices that I've made recently, to not drink at that party, to not drink alcohol. And he was asking, well, what's the point of that, right? And I was just saying, I'm looking at trying to take care of my body, my mind, right? Mind, body, and spirit. So why am I going to be doing something that could damage my body? And that was something that I was just sharing with him, and he was asking me a lot more questions on it. And I'm not going to pretend like I got it all down, but it's just trying to be better, trying to live a life of discipline, trying to see like, okay, if you can abstain from certain things. And that's one thing that Marcus Aurelius talks a lot about, is, not living that life of indulgence, of pleasures, but instead a life of discipline, being a genuine man. Here's another phrase that I think is very powerful that I just stumble upon here. It says, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. So choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. It's giving you all the power, right? You can choose not to be harmed. And that's the thing. One, it's about controlling your emotions. He talks a lot about that because we can get emotional. Somebody can say something that offends you. Somebody can do an action that offends you. Someone can let you down. You know, expectations is a big thing too, right? If you hold expectations on somebody, you're prepping yourself to get hurt. And so that's another thing really important. I really like this piece right here because it talks about reputation, and reputation from as a business person, I've always thought is so powerful and you need to uphold it, right? But this one says, is it your reputation that's bothering you? Look at how soon we're all forgotten. The abyss of endless time that swallows it all. So yeah, you know, you want to live a life, and he talks about being genuine and being honest, being a good person. That at the end of the day, if people talk about you, are they going to say he was a good person, she was a good person? And if they do, then you've lived a good life, right? But the reputation, at the end of the day, everyone is gone, everyone's forgotten. What does it really matter, right? And so he talks about that. Here's another one. Nothing that goes on in anyone else's mind can harm you, nor can the shifts and the changes in the world around you. Then where is harm to be found? In your capacity to see it. So harm is found in your capacity to see it. If you don't see it, you have not been harmed. Powerful stuff. To pass through this brief life as nature demands, to give it up without complaint. Wow. So you pass through this brief life as nature demands. You go through life doing things as nature intended them to be. What is your nature, and finding what you're passionate about, and finding what you were put on this earth to do. He talks a lot about that. I think I shared it in a previous video that he says that we all need each other, just like the top row of teeth needs the bottom row of teeth, right? We're a community. We all need each other. We can't do it without the other person. Just like, you know, the right hand needs the left hand. We need each other. I maybe invented that one, actually. So it says, so remember this principle: when something threatens to cause you pain, the thing itself was no misfortune at all. To endure it and to prevail is great fortune. I'll reread that one because that's really powerful. It says, remember this principle: when something threatens to cause you pain, the thing itself was no misfortune at all. To endure it and prevail is great good fortune. Enduring the obstacle. And that's one thing, and coming out a better person, right? Because that's one thing I share a lot about. I believe in myself. I believe that adversity builds character. And many of the people that we look up to in history were people that had faced a lot of adversity. And they built a very strong character. And so this is saying that what could be seen as a misfortune at the end of the day is actually a good fortune, because you come out stronger, you come out better, you come out smarter. Take the shortest route, the one that nature planned, to speak and act in the healthiest way. Do that and be free of pain and stress, free of calculation and pretension. So he's saying take the shortest route, which is something that I've always thought, hey, don't take shortcuts, right? Carve your own path. But here he's saying take the shortest route, the one that nature planned. Speak and act in the healthiest way. Do that and be free of pain and stress, free of all calculation and pretension. I think, some of this, right, you have to take it and analyze it and see what applies to you, what you like and what you don't like, right? I'm not saying that you have to go by everything this, nor do I think that I agree with everything that Marcus Aurelius writes down here. But basically he's telling himself, right, because this is written to himself, take the shortest route, the one that nature planned. And sometimes we try to fight like upstream. We try to maybe do something that really isn't then as nature planned, right? It's going against maybe what nature intended. And he's saying go the shortest route, do the one that's he's not saying easiest, but the one that's allowing you to speak and act in the healthiest way. And so be free of pain and stress. And I think that's powerful. I think that sometimes we cause because we think we should go a certain path or a certain way, we cause more stress and pain, as opposed to maybe taking the path that was meant for us to take. Here's a couple notes that I put here. Nothing can happen to me that isn't natural. So he says, I can keep from doing anything that God and my own spirit don't approve. No one can force me to. No one can force me to. Yeah, nothing can happen to me that isn't natural. Again, that has to do with the universe and nature intending things to go a certain way. Even though we may perceive it as good or bad, he makes it very clear at the beginning of the book that nothing is good or bad. Sickness, illness, death, not good or bad. It just is. And we put our own perceptions on things because we think one thing is good or bad, but it isn't. It just is. The things you think about, okay, here's another one. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. Color it with a run of thoughts like these. And then he says, anywhere you can lead your life, you can lead a good one. Lives are led at court, then good ones can be. Things gravitate towards what they were intended for. What things gravitate toward is their goal. What they were intended for. What is your nature? I think we can wrap up with that. Let me see if there's any other ones that call out to me. The sensation is natural, but don't let the mind start in with judgments, calling it good or bad. So he's saying don't let the mind do that. So catch yourself if you do. So you have a brain as well. Good for you. Use your logic to awaken his. So it's saying don't be irritated at people. It says that people smell or bad breath. What's the point? With that mouth, with those armpits, they're going to produce that odor. But they have a brain. Can't they figure it out? Can't they recognize the problem? So he's saying show him. Make him realize it. If he'll listen, then you'll have solved the problem without anger. Now he talks about correcting people when they've made a mistake in a nice way. He does share that a lot. Okay, we can finish with this one. This is really cool. Okay, well, first he says, how many unkind people have you been kind to? Wow. Think about that. How many unkind people have you been kind to? You know, the next time you go to the store, you go anywhere, any interaction, the bank, wherever it is, and someone's being rude or short, are you kind to them or do you react the same way? For myself, I can say yesterday, There was a situation where someone was very rude and, not acknowledging me, and I decided not to interact with them, right? But maybe I could have been a little kinder. Okay, so we'll wrap up here. Soon you'll be ashes or bones, a mere name at most, and even that is just a sound, an echo. The things we want in life are empty, stale, and trivial. Dogs snarling at each other, quarreling children laughing, and then bursting into tears a moment later. Trust, shame, justice, truth. Why are you still here? Sensory objects are shifting and unstable. Our senses dim and easily deceived. The soul itself is a decoction of the blood. Fame in a world like this is worthless. So it's saying wait for it patiently, annihilation or metamorphosis. And until that time comes, honor and revere the gods. Treat human beings as they deserve. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Remember, nothing belongs to you but your flesh and blood, and nothing else is under your control. Okay. Honor and revere the gods. Treat human beings as they deserve. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. I really like that. Be tolerant with others, strict with yourself. Remember, nothing belongs to you but your flesh and blood, and nothing else is under your control. And with that, we can wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining in this little coffee and meditations. See you on the next one.